Square One DSM is an initiative of the Greater Des Moines Partnership that mentors, connects, and enhances the potential for success for entrepreneurs in Greater Des Moines.
So with that, I would like to welcome Jason Cope to the stage. I appreciate you coming, Jason. I got to know Jason a couple years ago when you were first getting started. So let's start out with, I think it's just to let everybody know where you are at the current moment. What is PowerPollen and how did you get there?
Yeah, so excellent question. And even before I answer that, with what you just described, with what you do and meeting with people that have an idea and they want to understand how do I move forward with an idea all the way to when they're raising money. You've been excellent.
Oh, thank you.
There.
Are you saying that because my boss is there?
Would have known if you hadn't introduced me. My partner and I, we're scientists and engineers, so business doesn't come natural to us. We've been in the industry for a long time, and of course we know large company business and how the climate is there, but your name came recommended to us by several individuals, and it's starting points like that that really, I think, are sort of a fuse for people that have ideas, but they need to understand how to actually go upon making the right connections to develop it. So just wanted to make that clear to the group that the program is working very well. PowerPollen. So my business partner and I, Todd Crone, have been longtime agricultural employees. He's a molecular geneticist, and my background is more in engineering. And we've both been about technology our entire careers. And you know, if you look at the ag industry right now, there's a lot of mergers going on. There's a lot of disruption or distraction. It's going to take time to settle some of the issues with these mergers out. And technology sort of stalled. And the creation of new technologies to advance agriculture. And this is all about farmers, and it's all about feeding people. Farmers need to win. Grain prices are down. There's just a lot of real struggles that are out there in industry. So based on knowing that there were opportunities, independently, actually, my business partner and I resigned from industry, both knowing that there were things that we could do on our own. Connected after we had resigned and got to talking, and seed production, you know, it's what we kept coming back to. There are better ways to produce seed. It's been done the same way for 90 years, and so PowerPollen is a completely new take on that.
So producing seed, meaning, for those who aren't familiar, the seed that farmers plant to grow their crops.
That's right. There's about 1 million acres annually in the U.S. that seed companies will grow to actually make the hybrid seed that's sold to farmers.
So you got together now. This is always an issue because you both left large-scale ag companies, and if you're in engineering of any form in a large-scale company, you sign these documents that say basically everything you've invented belongs to us. And rightly so, if I'm hiring a scientist, as the company owner, I would be available for the work product. So you guys left before you started this, so you had a clean break, and you. Absolutely. It's so important if you're going to go out and do your own technology, if you're in a technology role, you got to make sure you're legally clean, because I've seen people get stopped cold with great technology, and it's like the company calls back and says, hold on, that's ours. And they may have a legitimate reason to say it's theirs. So you broke early. Were you both at the same company by any chance?
We were.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, Pioneer, we were a Pioneer hybrid, or DuPont Pioneer, now it's going to be Dow DuPont, these mergers that we talked about. Large company. Certainly been around a long time, and it's a big place. My focus area was in developing new technologies, and Todd was in charge of getting traits into the hybrid lines.
Okay, so you're both around this. This is a classic thing when you talk about people like, I'm 56, and you see startups that are like the 20-year-old with a hoodie, but then there's the startups that are the 40 and 50-somethings that have been in an industry space for 10, 20, 30 years going, I can do this better. I know I can do this better. And it's those large company cultures that, it's not that they don't want it, it's just, it's kind of like an antibody fires off when something new comes up, because you start interfering with what everybody does for a living, and people start getting nervous, and they start unconsciously and sometimes consciously shooting at it. So.
Yeah, and I guess the comment I would make, and I can only talk for DuPont Pioneer, in my own opinion on that, is they want new technology. They want things that help them to do what they do. Yeah. But there's only only so much budget, and the main wheel that they're turning is getting traits into.
It is, and if you run an R&D budget, I used to run the R&D budget for my company, and it's like managing stock for customers. If I'm managing all of your portfolios, I can't take very much risk. I've got to get you a return, especially if you're publicly traded. You can't take a lot of risk. And there were days I felt like I'm betting on the wrong thing. I could see these huge opportunities, but also the risk profile was so high that the company could never get through these quarterly earnings report based on what we were doing. So sometimes just the reality of the way business works, publicly traded companies, you just can't do it. So tell us a little bit about what your first product does. Why do people care? What is it? What changed? Because there's kind of quite a change in here.
Yeah, there is. So, as I mentioned, we took a fresh look on how seed is produced, and I don't know how many people are familiar with the process of detasseling. Detasseling is part of the major labor effort that goes into seed production, and that's a large cost of goods for seed companies. And also, you look at the yield that they get out, or the risk that they have on the weather for producing the seed. Those are all risks that they have coming into producing seed. So Todd and I really thought about, if we're waiting for the weather to come in and either behave or not behave and miss pollination. So the male shedding pollen from the tassel and the female silk's exposed, it's got to be at the right time, otherwise this process doesn't happen. They came to us that really, gosh, we could preserve pollen at a very large scale so that we could go out anytime that the female parts of the plants are ready and apply that pollen. Then not only would we reduce the cost of goods associated with detasseling, we would also increase yield, decrease contamination, and de-risk a lot of the risks that seed companies take on.
And so this is one of the things that I found so interesting. And it's not just in the area of seed, but talk about what is contamination? When you say that word, what does that mean?
Yeah, so contamination, you have a farmer who's 1 block away, or you have a farmer who's a mile away. Pollen can blow in under the right conditions and take what a seed company would have sold as a product, and they have millions and millions and millions of dollars they're going to make off of this, and it's contaminated by another source of pollen, and they can no longer sell that. They have to discard all the grain in that field.
So in other words, the investment's gone. More than anything, they have a limited supply of product they can sell. So this is something you were talking about earlier. It's about increasing supply and the risk to their supply. Can you talk a little bit more about what does a seed corn company face with supply risk for seed corn going to the market?
Yeah, so annually, seed companies will look at the demand that they have for products and then different geographies, and they get an understanding of how many units, bags that they need to produce of each genotype to really meet their demand. And
right.
Farmers that have good success with a hybrid are going to come back and want more. And if you don't have it for them because your field was contaminated or the weather came in and really interfered with your ability to produce this seed, not only is it bad for business, because you don't have product to sell, you probably lost a farmer that's going to come back in the future because they're going to go find another product to plant on their land.
Probably from a different brand.
That's right.
So you're storing pollen, which up until now is thought of as not possible.
Yeah, it's only really been done in, if you look in research publications from universities, people have succeeded in very small sort of milligram quantities, but it's never been scalable. And the process to get to that milligram quantities of stored pollen has been extremely complex machinery to get to that point.
And so what you're talking about is taking pollen and storing it for how long?
Right now, we validated 8 months.
8 months.
So pollen shedding out in the field in a normal situation lives anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. So it's not a very long-lived, but very important. Basically, you can think of it as sperm, and the silks bring the sperm nuclei down to the embryo, fertilize it, sort of like human genetics.
Yeah.
If that sperm dies, then
You got nothing.
yeah,
So 8 months.
8 months and counting.
And counting. But even a month, and even just being able to say I can store it for a month is an amazing thought. So can you take us through that process? What do you do to collect the pollen, and then how do you apply it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the things we're doing are on large scale. So we're talking with seed production, we'll say an average of 100 acres for a field size. Not what a farmer would do for grain, but respectable size field for sure. We actually go out and we have machinery that traverses through the field when pollen is actively shedding, and it collects this pollen in mass quantities. And we take that pollen that we've collected and we put it into what we call a conditioning process that gets it ready for preservation, and then we put it into our actual preservation system, which, patent pending, has the secret ingredients that people have overlooked in the research that you've done in the past.
Right, right. But the point is you collect it with a machine, and if I remember, it's not a brand new kind of machine.
No, part of what we realized is you really can't build a new technology and expect people to go out and buy a new $200,000 piece of machinery to go perform this process.
Especially right now in the economy.
Yes. So we tapped into sprayer type vehicles. They already go through the field with mature corn, and they have toolbars, so why not build our collection and dissemination technologies right on top of that.
All right. So you've collected the pollen, you've conditioned it, and then you've put it into storage. Now take us through when it's time to apply the pollen. What happens?
So that's based on observations that a seed company would make, that their female is starting to emerge. Silks are starting to show. You let these silks become exposed, and then one of our patent pending methods, which has been largely overlooked, largely it's a new concept in industry, we actually go out and do this distribution of pollen before the natural pollen shed occurs.
Okay.
So you lock out these plants from any form of contamination because they've already been fertilized.
I see. So you're getting them earlier.
That's right.
Basically. All right. And is that also a mechanized process then?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Same kind of?
Same machine, yep, just a different apparatus.
So now I'm jealous. So basically I don't have to buy much new stuff to use in the process. That's pretty cool. So you're starting in corn. What other crops are you looking at? Are you looking at other crops, and so what kind of crops?
So yes, our patents are written very broadly.
Okay.
I would start with grass crops. There's a huge opportunity in corn. 1.3 billion annually in the U.S. just for seed production of new money that we're bringing to the equation based on reduced cost of goods and increased yield. But then you take a step further and you look out and you say what other crops are similar and could benefit from this, and wheat and rice really stand out.
And wheat and rice are some of the biggest crops in the world, right?
That's right.
I remember my economics of all those are two of the biggest. And so are those hybrids now, or how does that work? What's been done and what can be done?
So rice is largely hybrid. The problem with it is it's very labor intense to produce the hybrids, and so it can't be produced in countries like the U.S. It's mostly in India and in China where
So
those hybrids are made, where our technology could greatly minimize the cost that goes into producing the hybrid rice, where wheat is maybe 5% annually sold as hybrid, and those companies typically lose money because there's so much labor that goes into it. So wheat is still largely a self-pollinated crop. So the yield potential is flat, whereas if we made it hybrid, the yield potential would climb and climb and climb.
So this is what's interesting to me, because you're actually talking about feeding more people here. I mean, we all love cost savings and production efficiency, but you're talking about increasing the yield of the field over time.
Yeah. Yeah, more production per unit of land and more reliable production.
Yeah, that's the bigger thing, it's more reliable, because as we were talking the other day, is to talk about things like natural pollinators, like bees and other things that are at risk. This is potentially a way to deal with some of the downfall from that.
It is. It's complementary to what the bees do, and in cases where there's a colony collapse, you can come in and use the technology to recover the crop.
Yeah. What other type of plants does it affect, and what other, give me an idea of the different kinds of plants out there that pollinate a similar way?
Yeah, so really anything that has a flower. You look at a lot of vegetable crops, and so you know, we're all pretty much we're mortals and we have wonderful people working for us, but we know row crops, right?
Right.
So that's the world that's known to us, and people have come in and made comments that, gosh, what you could do for pineapple or palm oil or carrots or many other species.
So there's a lot of opportunity here.
Just as impactful, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. As we're going here, think about the questions you want to ask. I'll open up in a little bit. So the two of you get together, you decide you want to go do this. What was that first year like?
You know, the scariest part for me in that first year was honestly the first couple times times, and really in particular, the very first time Todd and I sat down and talked, because I didn't know if he had any ideas, and I'm sure he felt the same way. And my biggest fear was coming away from that conversation, am I going to feel like, I felt like Todd's an excellent guy to partner with, and that's proven true. But if he doesn't have any good ideas, then, you're kind of kicking the can down the road and going, okay, next. And once we had that synergy of ideas come together, the first year was, wow, all these things that we used to take for granted that we don't have anymore. So you don't spend most of your time engineering or doing science. You spend most of your time doing all the supporting elements around it.
Wishing you had time to do it.
That's right. So I'm on eBay and Amazon at night, buying components to put a laboratory together, and engineering elements, and Todd's everywhere getting crops and fields put together. And
Just as a side story, these guys are the geniuses at buying stuff cheap. Because I was up there, and you've got these production size growth chambers.
Yeah.
Walk-in growth chambers that you bought for how much on the dollar?
Oh, gosh. We bought them for 4,000 a piece, and they run over 200,000 new. Agriculture, it's a small version of pharmaceuticals. There's a lot of money that goes into it, and there's also a lot of waste that comes out of it. When companies downsize, who wants to buy a great big growth chamber for home?
Yeah, right.
So,
this is the size of a one-stall garage, and it's complex. And
it is, and gosh, for $4,000, and that's reiterated throughout our facility. There's very few new things that we have, but everything we have has a place.
And you stay that way for as long as your company runs.
Oh, absolutely.
It's some of the folks at startups a lot. It's frustrating to see I bought the $1,000 Aeron chair. It's like, no.
Yeah.
So you got going, you started buying your first lab equipment. I take it you had to write some patents. What was that like?
That's a process that I've been very familiar with over time.
Yep.
And I've been fortunate to work with some people that are very good at the process. And I recontacted some of those people to help. Writing patents is just a very long, hard process.
How many hours do you think the two of you put into patents?
Boy, I
can
need to think about it.
Yeah.
Right now, I would say a third of my time goes into patents.
Yeah, I believe it. And you're in a field where patents are everything, because if you can't get the patents, then you're exposing it for everyone to see.
Yeah.
There's no hiding what you're doing.
That's right. And a big company will pick it up quick.
They will. Who was your first employee? It was just the two for a while. What were those first hires like? How did you?
Yeah.
Who and why?
That's a great question. Our very first hire was somebody to help us in the field.
Yeah.
And that person had to be sort of a jack of all trades, because when you're not doing field work, you're analyzing things that came out of the field, and then you're doing things in the lab. That was the first hire. And we realized pretty quickly that we weren't advancing the science in the lab as quickly as we needed to. So the next hire was a research scientist that was retired from agriculture and was actually working in the floral shop at Hy-Vee, because he likes to work, and he likes to work with plants, and he's an amazing scientist, and he came in and did some
I'm glad he was enjoying himself at Hy-Vee, but what a waste of a talent to say that a research scientist in this area is basically doing flower arranging.
Yeah, and
no disrespect to flower arranging and flower management, but
he's still there to this day. He likes to say, I'm retired, but I'm in here for a certain, he's not full-time, he's half-time, and he's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent out there in the retired community.
There is.
So when did you have to raise money? What was that like?
Yeah, so raising money, to really, I guess, relate, the stage we were at is, have you ever heard of an angel investor? Yeah, I think I have. It sounds really good. Do we need one? And where are they at? And you walk up to the door and ring the doorbell, and no, it's not that easy. So we ended up going in front of a lot of groups, and frankly referred to a lot of individuals. And we did a death round to begin with. And we closed it within, gosh, I think probably 3 weeks of starting it.
Okay, so this never happens. This is a fantasy. You did a debt round, meaning you just had it, it's basically a note that converts to equity at some point at a future value. And probably the benefit is you're in ag, there's a lot of ag investors, and you probably have the right connections, the right kinds of people, but 3 weeks is unheard of. Just so, I'm sure you've been told this before, but congratulations, that's never done. Yeah.
Joe Leo's our attorney, he does a great job, and he likes to tell a story that these two guys come in and they're scientist and engineer, and we think we probably have the people, so we'll probably be back in a couple weeks, and Joe makes the comment that he thought, okay, sure.
Yeah, right, laughter.
So, in time, I don't know what we don't know, so we've been
That's
very fortunate.
your strongest
We've been very
benefit, to the point of it can't be done. Because if you had said to me, I'm going to raise this money in 30 days, I would have said, it really can't be done.
Yeah.
And shame on me.
No, we've been very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, I think it speaks to the idea that you've got people understanding the value of the idea. I mean, you don't raise money that quickly. And when somebody who's, I know a few of the people that are investors and extremely knowledgeable in this space, really, really knowledgeable people go like, yes, and here's the check. That's pretty amazing. So you've been through 3 rounds of field tests?
Yeah, we're on our Series B right now, with a target of $5 million.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about raise now.
Yes.
I was switching gears.
Oh, okay,
Tell me more about
sorry.
raise. So you're doing Series B?
Yeah, we're doing Series B.
Okay.
It's set to close January 31st.
Okay.
We got a target of $5
$5
million.
million. Okay. All right. And is that going well?
Going very well.
It's going to do it again.
We're most likely going to do it without VCs. We have enough
Nice.
interest from
$5
individuals
million
that.
without VCs. That's unusual as well. Yeah.
No, it's good to have investors that support you and see the vision and really support the goals that come out of it.
If you ever want to know why I always a great place to do ag startups, it's that kind of story because that's a value story on a piece of software technology. So let's switch gears to the field. You've had to prove this works. This isn't just we think it's going to work. You've been through 3 years of field trials.
We have.
What have you seen? What's the results you're telling people about?
You know, when we first started in the field, we got some results that we thought were unexpected. And by unexpected, it's, wow, here's a 20% yield gain. And we're limiting contamination like we thought we would. And now that we're preserving pollen and we can go out and we can rescue a field that the pollen's not shedding when the silks are ready, we have a 300% yield increase. Over the last 3 years, we've validated that we're consistently seeing a 20% yield increase or greater, and that's on what seed companies expect to get 20% beyond that.
Plus the rescue factor.
That's right, the rescue factor is huge, and then the reduced cost of goods on top of that.
At 20%, just for others, again, that aren't involved with this, is not a small number. That is, they would have loved to get 1 or 2% yield improvement. That would have been a big deal. So this
More and more product to sell. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the rest of it's been about scaling. So there's really what we perceive as a full market where if we can build it, there's the demand's out there. And it's up to us to really scale it and make sure it's working as we want to, so that as it goes into customers' hands, that there's the best of interactions there.
So will you be in production sales mode next year with next year's crop, or this coming year's crop, I should say?
Yeah, so in 2018, we're, I guess you'd call it early commercialization.
Right.
For us, it's increasing the amount of acres that we've done by a factor of 200.
Okay.
So we've obviously mechanized a lot since the prior year, but we're working with 3 different seed companies that we've identified as good early partners, and we're going to be out in their seed production fields.
Can you talk about how many acres you'll do this year, you think? Is that something you talk about?
Yeah, so, you know, we have a target on that, and I guess I'd take a step back even and say, the goal for this year, first and foremost, is for seed companies to see the yield benefit.
Yeah.
So if we do 500 acres as an example, and they see 20% or greater yield improvement throughout, they're going to see the value of the product very quickly. That being said, we're in the thousands of acres, that's the target.
Okay. So that's going to be pretty significant.
It is.
Well, let's open up for questions. Anybody have a question for Jason? Yeah.
Was there a eureka moment when you realized your technology was going to work? Because you kind of described it as impossible, so that seems like quite a big hurdle for most people if they see something that's impossible.
So there absolutely was a eureka moment, and it comes back to preserving pollen. That was our highest area of risk, for sure. And you have to be half crazy to do a startup, and pretty confident that I'm going to work hard enough to make this happen. But once we realized that we were reliably and ruggedly preserving pollen, and that it worked from each genotype between hybrids and inbreds, it worked across the board. It was sort of that moment of, wow, there are so many things we can do with this, from research and discovery all the way to seed production, all the way to the farmer's field and grain production, and increasing yield for farmers.
Do you think there's a particular reason no one did it before you? Or because it's quite a simple idea, but hard to execute?
Yeah. We actually get asked that question quite a bit, and it's a very logical question. And this is just my opinion, I think seed companies mostly focus on traits because that's what farmers want to buy, and that's where most of their money investment goes in the research side. And in general, most seed companies have looked at this as an area of high risk, just because they look at the literature from the past and what professors and other people have done, and the limited to zero success that they've had.
You have a question?
How long did you think about leaving before you left the corporate job?
Too long. Once you make that decision to go, I think you're ready. For me and for Todd, it's a different reason that he left, and I won't describe his story. That's up to him. For me, it was because I created technologies and budgets were locked up, and so what do? You want to keep creating. It's your passion. It's what you do, and now budgets are frozen up. So I thought, gosh, I'll go out and do this on my own. And first it started with, I think I'll consult, and we did. I consulted, Todd consulted for other companies, but it always came back to the ideas that we have in broker up ag.
Was there ever a moment, so you have this idea, how long did you keep it to yourself? When did this idea develop? How long did you keep it to yourself? Was there ever a moment where you would, in an office setting, say, I've got this great idea, or was it one of those kind of cards you had in your back pocket?
Yeah, another good question. I'd liken Todd and I to little kids in terms of having the ideas and seeing the potential and going out in the field and seeing it work, and the whole wow that comes out of that. And then there's the part where you have to be completely confidential and quiet until you get your patent written and filed, so others don't know what you're doing and you haven't disclosed anything. And there's a funny balance in that. So we've held back on some of the things in terms of what this could do for farmers, just because we need to generate some revenue off of seed production first, and it's a very logical place to do it and a very important place to do it. But the opportunity with grain the farmers produce is astronomical. And it's hard not to talk more about that, but we have to stay disciplined and focus on that seed production.
Well, I've been through some of what he has, where you've signed these documents for a corporation, and you have to respect them. It's part of why you're being paid as an engineer. And so when you get one of these ideas, if you do have it in your mind, you already know enough, if you're at all wise, that you don't ever talk about your work. You never bring it up, and you make sure you never work on anything work that has anything to do with it. I had something I was working on one time before I left my company, and I purposely stayed away from a project just so I could keep my idea clean, because it was touching on what they were going to do as a division. I want to do everything I can to stay away from that. And so, because you left really before you got into this, you may have been determined the idea of it before.
In an ag, there's, you can't take away necessarily the people knowing how to breed plants or the basics of, even the area of pollen science. Those things are out there. But the specifics, I would never want anyone to come into our company and I guess the easiest way to put it is salespeople. When they come in and they want to tell you what the person down the street's doing and it's proprietary there, they're going to do the same thing to you, and you don't want that happening. And
if you're an employee for a company and you do that to that company, then you become the head of the company and your employees do it to you. What do you expect?
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
So having said all that, did you ever receive a telephone call from a pioneer attorney saying, we'd like to talk to you about your IP?
No, we've been very, I guess I would call it overly careful, so that there's really no room for interpretation that anything we've done could have its place there before we started it. And we remain in good standing with Pioneer. They're interested in the technology.
They are. And that's important because as an investor, I can tell you one of my first questions would have been, do you have a letter from Pioneer that says they're not going to pursue you? Because just the fact that they work there in substantial roles that were somewhat associated with the same science, as an investor, I'm not going there until they have a letter saying, no, we will not go after them for this IP. Because otherwise it's hanging out there. It's called prior art, and that hangs around forever. They could wait 5 years and come back,
Yeah,
theoretically.
it's true.
And so investors were going to ask you those questions. So if you are doing this and you don't tell the company that you used to work for, it's very likely investors will force you to, and you're going to look a lot more mature if you've already done it. You've already said, yeah, I got the letter, I'm good. So,
And the way my partner and I view this is, we want to do everything at the highest ethical level. And we've been told by wise people that Des Moines in this area, as far as startups go, and then in general, it's a small world, it's a small community. And you always want to have the best reputation, the best relationship with the individuals that you work with.
Dave, did you have a question?
Jason, how did you develop the pricing of your product? Is it based on productivity improvements, based on some labor saving, or?
You know, I dare say that's probably been one of the harder parts of the technology as a whole. Todd had a lot more to do with that than I did, and he took formulas based on productivity, knowing seed company costs, annual production estimates, and then came around and said, if we recover 25% of that, for example, then the seed companies, having money they would have never had, having more yield, and we get through the license some of that back in return. And then you go and bring that to the seed companies, and you have the second conversation really as they're involved in it, what they think is fair. And I think it's safe to say that with each seed company, depending on the number of acres that they're utilizing the technology on, that licensing will probably look a little different for each company. So it's case by case.
Is that a per acre license in, or is it?
That's the way we're looking at it, is per acre. But you know, you look at a field of 200 acres and you rescue it where there would have been no yield, and that's 20 million that you just saved a seed company. You price that the same as a 20% yield increase. And so there's still more things we have to work out, really.
And value-based pricing is important. I mean, there's people get a little confused. They say, well, it only costs $1, why are you charging 10? But it's really not about what it costs, it's about what it can do.
Yeah.
And that's some of the hard things to get through with startups, is you don't price based on cost, you price based on value. And if the customers see no value, then you're not going to go anywhere. So it's about value return.
How big is your company? How many employees do you have?
In terms of employee,
Yeah.
we have 14 employees currently. We're actively hiring, actively in a growth mode.
What kinds of people are you going to be hiring? As you mentioned, you're going to hire some more people. What types of roles?
Yeah, in fact, I just interviewed one of the possible hires right before coming down here. We're hiring in the laboratory right now.
Okay.
A week ago, we just brought on an operations lead, so somebody who really understands how to get seed production done and the logistics around it. An engineer, another engineer to come in. There's really a large variety, more field staff.
Yeah. So across the board.
Yeah.
So if this comes fully to fruition, days of tasking kind of numbered, how do you feel about ruining an Iowa coming-of-age tradition of teenagers' future?
You know, if I had a kid come to me and say, boy, you just ruined everything I love doing in the summer, then it might feel a little worse. You know, it brings about a good point, though. It's harder and harder to find the staff to actually.
Wanted signs on or something.
That's right. And so now it's migrant labor, and it's a big safety risk as well. There have been incidents in the field where a sprayer will come by and people will get doused with herbicide or different fungicides. People have been electrocuted, and it's a farm environment. You sprain your ankle, and
I was going to say, a lot of kids got hurt tasseling. I mean, I used to do it, and I got hurt a couple times, not bad, but the wrestling team was expected to tassel in the summer as a team, because that was part of our non-practice practice. So, yeah, it's not exactly a safe thing to do.
No.
So, yeah.
So I have a question about the process. Do you manage the process to a farmer, or do they buy your product and then buy the equipment to put it on? Or-
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. Right now, we're not going directly to the farmer just because we have to validate the grain concept more. We do work directly with the seed companies that are doing the seed production, so they would actually buy the equipment to put on their machines to go out in the field and conduct the process. Currently, we have the machinery to do the pollen preservation, so we would do that here in the interim. Most of it's about technology transfer though, because these seed companies are going to want to do the process themselves. And who could blame them? You know, it's their livelihood. So we would ultimately transfer it into their hands.
Plus, it's time sensitive. From the time you physically collect it to the time you condition it and store it, that is a short window.
It is. A lot of the situations here in Iowa, it's a matter of days. So if you can preserve pollen for 8 months, you can go from cycle to cycle, generation of corn to generation of corn. But there's huge value in just having pollen preserved for 2 or 3 days.
Well, I was thinking, I was recently in Hawaii, and on the island of Kauai, they used to grow a lot of sugar cane, and all of that's been replaced by seed corn production. And the reason that was explained to me while I was there, and you reiterated it, you can get 1 cycle of seed corn grown here, you can do 4 cycles of seed corn in a year on Kauai. So they can 4x the production rate of creating new hybrids. Now you add this to it, and you just multiply that again.
Yeah.
So that is pretty fascinating.
Yeah. In fact, I was there almost a year ago today.
Yeah.
On the field. I can see the ocean.
I remember you talking
I
about
can see
that.
the beach.
You said your wife enjoyed the hotel and
That's
the
right.
beach, and you got to work, right?
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Other questions? Yeah, Heidi.
The point you made about the salesperson who is sharing, because they want us, information and secrets are part of it. Part of what gets you in the door, and how do you protect yourself from that?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways, and it's not an easy process by any means, because some of this takes place in the field, right? And you can't put up great big curtains around the field so people can't come by and see the machinery. So file provisional patents early is a big part of it, so that you have essentially the ability to share what you're doing with knowing that you have a potential patent coming from it. And the other is have an area where we work where you have guests come in and you have things that are common knowledge, and that you can talk with them and work with them and keep the things that are enabling technologies or trade secret behind closed doors.
Will you be able to do that as you intentionally transfer that technology closer to the seed companies where they're doing it?
You know, I believe we will, just because we have so much intellectual property already filed. So we're filed from not only the process of preserving pollen, but the early pollination to avoid contaminations also patented, the seed production approach, the grain approach, the mechanization we use to collect pollen, the methods around what this enables, all of that is patent pending currently.
And I think when you're selling to large corporations, you're actually better off, because the large corporation is not going to go and violate those patents. They're just not going to do it, not knowingly. One rogue person in a large company might pull something like that, but there's just no way in a publicly traded company, a large-scale company, anyone's going to allow that to happen, because they also have intellectual property. And believe me, once you're sitting on a large-scale amount of intellectual property, my company had 800 patents, real patents completed, plus many more than pipe. We had total respect for everyone else's patents. In fact, we were almost overboard about it. So it's actually better than having to sell 10,000 little individuals who don't even understand the patent rules and laws, who might just say, well, I'll just do it myself. So
Sure
in a way, you're better off.
One of the very first stories I heard as I came into agriculture was you had that one rogue person who climbed somebody else's fence and took some of their genetics and started breeding with it. And I think, the mindset that person had is probably, wow, I want to be a big deal and I make some really great things here. And, that was found out pretty quickly, because we have genetic genotyping you can do, and you can look at where the genetics came from. And that was a $100 million lawsuit, like where the other company says, I'm sorry, we've taken care of this individual, we didn't realize this was an issue, here's the check, it'll never happen again. And, you know, it's
just bad.
scary stuff.
The hard part is if you're trying to operate in countries that don't have good patent laws. That's always going to be hard. That's where it gets difficult. And again, that's where you want to be with large-scale companies, honestly, that also have the same problem. And if it was upon Pioneer that fought a lawsuit recently, someone's taking trades out of the country and found people in the fields digging up seeds. So, yeah.
And that's where you're really equals when it comes to, we're very selective about where we patent. It doesn't pay to wait 10 years to get a patent. And all the maintenance fees while you're going along that process, because your technology's probably done in 10 years.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
And you're on the next.
Hopefully you're doing the next one. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, Dave.
When you store the pollen, are there some humidity and temperature parameters that you need to abide by?
Yeah, so it is largely about how you treat the pollen. And, you know, I would describe it as pollen's very sensitive, being a very simplistic organism. And if you can understand what it's saying and where its pain's at, and you can counter that by the environment you put it in, then that's certainly part of the process. Our first patent application on preservation has published, so you could go out and read more about the conditions if you want to. Some interesting things in there. Maybe I say that because I'm a nerd, but yeah,
Okay.
that's certainly part of the process.
I still get excited about new forms of radio technology, so I get it. Thank you very much for coming, Jason. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you next month.